Hello and welcome to CapCity BTC, Sacramento's premier Bitcoin and cryptocurrency group serving Northern California. Enjoy the presentation.
So before we move on to our next speaker, just want to say again, thank you everybody for joining. This is an event that is done in collaboration with 3 different meetup organizations. We have Sacramento Bitcoin Meetup, also known as CapCity BTC. We have Starfish SF, which is based in San Francisco, and we have SF Bitcoin and Blockchain Social. Those are all 3 of these are wonderful organizations. You may have come from one or another, but we are trying to do this in collaboration while we're just doing events virtually. If there's another event organization that you know of that you think would be a cool collaborator, let us know, and we'll get together and we'll increase the size of our community. That said, last thing actually before we move forward is this event is being recorded. Just for everybody's heads up, you can turn on the video, you can turn off the video. If you have a question for our next speaker, you can leave it in the chat and we'll get through all the questions in the order that they arrived. Our next speaker is, I'm super excited for this. He is a pioneer when it comes to Bitcoin usability, being the creator of the first Bitcoin ATM. He is a telecommunication engineer and a Y Combinator alumni, and an overall awesome person who has come in person to our events back in the day when we were able to meet in person, and is protecting us from one of the, which he'll tell you more about, one of the worst ways of having your crypto stolen, which is through SIM hacking. He's a protector with the company Efani. Everybody give it up for the one and the only Haseeb.
Hello everyone. I'm Haseeb Awan. Anyway, so thanks for having me on the meetup. As Javon said, that I live in Sacramento and I was one of the meetups before. Now, with all those virtual meetups, the best part is you can present to a wider audience. So I'll take this opportunity to talk about since my background. I've been in crypto, I think, 8 years now, I believe. So I've been in crypto for almost 8 years now. I think I got on, I think Bitcoin, when Bitcoin was $60, I believe. And around that time, it was very difficult to buy and sell Bitcoin. So that's why we came up with the concept of Bitcoin. It was literally like Craigslist or eBay. I used to sell Bitcoins on eBay, and that got my account shut down. And as of today, I still cannot use PayPal because I'm permanently blocked from eBay and PayPal. So that's how old it could be. And then one day we decided, just fun, why not make a chaos set? Make Bitcoin ATM. It was just frankly a fun project. I thought Bitcoin was a scam, and I still believe it's a Ponzi scheme. But again, I thought it would be a decent, interesting project. So we did the interesting project and ended up getting a lot of customers. The fun part, the first customer I called up, his name is Anthony Diorio. He said we were working on a project. I introduced to one guy, and the project name was Ethereum. And so I met Vitalik, who helped us with the IT stuff on that day too. And we got into Ethereum. I think it was like 15 cents or something. So installed the first machine in San Francisco. I think it was in Workshop Cafe on Montgomery, and I went through incubator in Mountain View called Y Combinator, and pretty good times. IPFS was our batchmate who, and block, it was called IPFS. Filecoin was called IPFS. So ultimately, long story short is that my experience has always been on the core, how to get into a lot of issues. Like a lot of DeFi apps, I'm pretty early user. I like the presentation a lot. I learned a lot. So there's something that I'll use, but it looks like very early days of crypto, where everything is so clumsy, no user interfaces, so you will keep on losing money. And whenever someone says that, hey, if you had bought Bitcoin like 10 years ago or 5 years ago, you would have this much in worth. And I say, no, man, you would have lost them to scams. Because frankly, there have been so many scams in crypto that I don't believe anyone don't have any scars. They could be bigger, they could be small, but frankly, there are a lot of scars on everyone's face when it comes to crypto. People have lost money, and stupidity. A lot of times, people have lost Bitcoin due to very stupid reasons. One of the reasons is purely around SIM swap. I'll talk about, but one thing I don't get it, and I probably please, who are the kind of people who actually are able to acquire Bitcoin, so they're intellectually enough to buy Bitcoin, but at the same time, someone say that, hey, send me 1 Bitcoin, I'll send you 2 Ethereum. I don't get this kind of people. Who are those people who are able to do that? They have been sophisticated enough to do this, but when it comes to I have no idea. But anyway, there are a lot of scams. I think one of the scams that I was a victim of, I didn't lose money, but I lost a lot of sleep and a lot of other financial issues because of the scam was SIM swap. So SIM swap is pretty much simple. Unless you're living under a rock, you know what SIM swap attack is. Someone just takes over your cell phone and takes your cell phone. So I will just cover up like a bit of presentation around general things. So obviously I made it a mission of my life to protect myself, because frankly I did it for myself. I was kind of frustrated to a point where I could not function anymore. It was so difficult that I literally could not even talk to anyone. Like, I was scared of pretty much everything in life. I thought someone may come and kill me, or someone may come after my house and take away everything. I could not leave the house because I was SIM swap 4 times. So SIM swap is pretty much when you lose your phone. And since I started the company, I have worked with like hundreds of people to get back their life. And every now and then, pretty much I get like 2 calls per week at least minimum, where people say, hey, we got SIM swap. And every time people think, hey, it's not going to be me. It's not going to be me. So I'll just cover up some of the issues of SIM swapping, and then I will show you a quick presentation. I'll not bore you a lot with stuff, but I'll just quickly take over, because the issue is that I have given this maybe like 50 times, and every time people will say that, hey, I'll do it next time. And these are the things that I mentioned. You can do it within like maybe half an hour, and it's free of cost. It will not even cost anything. Please, for the love of God, if you're in crypto, do it. Regardless, even if you're not in crypto, like, you should educate people on how to get a better hygiene, because this does not impact crypto people too, but also people outside the crypto. Great. So I said this webinar, cybersecurity and privacy for crypto folks. Like, the reason I mentioned crypto, I just changed the name, but technically, please just educate your family, friends, because the type of cases we deal with, it is way beyond like, I want your Bitcoins. It has come to a point where people have lost their careers around this and that's not only like limited to SIM swap, but like in general scams too. And as I said, it takes literally like half an hour to fix to be among the topics. So my expert, like, my victim was SIM swap 4 times, and I started a company called Efani, which brought people against SIM swapping. But again, you'll be surprised at how much information is available on you through online. If you Google your number, there are websites like White Pages, How I Find It, people.com, and they sell your information. Even your carrier right now selling information. There are websites which will even give out your social security number based on your telephone number. And that gets very dangerous. And then there's the dark web market where you can buy someone call logs, or you can also buy someone's live location. It's getting to a point where it's getting very, very serious. And companies cannot do that. Not for mobile, but in general, every second 3 Americans become victims of cyber crimes. And every time we believe it will not be us. So because the reason for that is purely because we are American has the best ROI. I'll not share this. I'll just ask you guys to. I'll just share the presentation. You can watch this video. But this basically covers how the SIM swap happens. So whenever the SIM swap happens, there people come after 3 things. Number 1 is your money. They want to take away as much money as possible. Number 2 thing they come after is your reputation, which is basically a massive issue. And the third is about your dark web. Third is around your identity, because I have seen a lot of cases where they have came after healthcare professional lawyers and actually asked them to give them a ransom for like 2 years, where you have to pay like $2,000 per month unless you will disclose all the information. And that is crazy. It simply happens by you receive a text message that, hey, congratulations, or like, sorry to let you go, and you lose your cell phone signal. And this is the entire action. This is a pretty long thing, but long story. Your phone will lose connection, and everything is linked to telephone number, your credit card, your bank information, your health card, pretty much everything is linked to social media, everything is linked to telephone number, and someone started resets. So first of all, they go into a Gmail or Hotmail, and they will just do a password reset. They get a phone text, and this happens every day. So these are steps I prefer. So please screenshot this. Again, this is pretty simple. You'll see that it's like everyone should do that, but you'll be surprised how many people don't do that. So search for your information online. Just type in your name in Google or DuckDuckGo, and also your telephone number. You'll find out how much information is there, and you'll be surprised at how much information comes up, just by typing your information. So then the second thing is app-based 2-factor. Again, I've said this to multiple people, but you'll be surprised how many people don't. So search for your information online. It's very, very important. Like, you'll be surprised how much information comes up. Set up app-based 2-factor. Auth, Google Authenticator are the most. See every application, like even if it's like your account that you don't use, either shut it down or use a 2-factor. Because we have seen cases where people were able to get into accounts which people have abandoned, And if you go to like websites like Have I Been Pawned, they will just log into those websites and do a password reset and find other information. Like your date of birth is very important, and your address is very important, or your credit card last 4 years, or social security number 4 digits are very important. So people go to those companies where you may have forgotten something, and they will just log in and find that information. And then or update software, like very simple, just update software, set up the firewall, and then password manager. Like I use I think use the true pass or something, but try to use password manager and try to not recycle the password, like mean that use everything. Other thing people should use is limits on account withdrawal. Uh, you'll be surprised that this is what happened mostly in the for healthcare and lawyers that we've seen. I had a case where a lawyers were basically losing like I think $20,000 per month because it was a law firm, and they didn't know because it's like they were doing $1 million business. They didn't know like $20,000 being taken out all the every month or something. So they discovered it, and by that time it was pretty lit. So for ordinary people, you can set up a limit on your card that hey, like call Chase Bank or whatever bank you have. Hey, I would never ever withdraw more than $1,000. You can do that. And because one of the attacks that people have done is they have started to go into your account and transfer money to an exchange, and then within like maybe 1 day they transfer the money from exchange. So they'll make an account on like Binance.com, transfer the money from your Chase Bank to that account, and then buy Bitcoin and go. Put a password on your phone. Again, very stupid, but like how many people have 111 or like 1111234, and it's like kind of looks pretty awkward. But if you're typing a password, do not write in front of any friend. Like you can say that, hey man, I'm just writing password. Don't do it. Encryption is also, you can encrypt your phone and you can also encrypt your hardware. This is very common for when you're flying into, because now the other law is that on immigration they can take out your phone and scan it, and I don't trust them with my information, like how the information will turn out. And then lock your credit report. Simple. All of these are for free. Frankly, if you do this, you are like among the 99% people who are secure. So you are like among the top 1%. And I guarantee you that how many people forget it? They will reuse the same password and they will not set up a two-factor, and then they lose money. And again, so these are all the things I have. So what happened if something goes after? So first of all, we ask about like physical security. If someone is involved physically, have a problem, is at risk. Number two, we ask you to call all the financial institutions immediately and lock down everything once you get SIM swapped. The third thing is to go into your social media and try to lock it down, because that's get attacked. Because a lot of time what happens is people do not get your money, but they get your personal messages and then they blackmail you after. iCloud is one thing that people get into, or sometimes we have people who have saved their information on like their feed on Google Cloud, or like Google Drive or Dropbox or OneDrive or something like that without a two-factor. So all of those people can go in, and frankly, it usually takes like 10 to 15 minutes for them to do to screw all of you, like pretty much like fuck you up within like 15 minutes. So yeah, that's pretty much like, I want to keep it short and simple. So I'll just shut it down, and I'll ask you questions around security and privacy if you guys have. But yeah, sorry, that's all about it.
Awesome. There were a couple comments. We have quite a few questions that were submitted for you, but one of the comments was that if it's possible to be closer to the mic, there's just a slight.
Okay. I'm so sorry. You could have told me before, but I'm so sorry for that. I didn't see that. I'm so sorry, man.
And then I just put Haseeb's Twitter link in the bottom there. Yeah. Is that the best place for people to reach you?
Yeah, they can reach me. I also give me my number too. It's actually in my Twitter profile, because we do get calls like at midnight. People get SIM swapped. If someone have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'll guide you on securing your phones for free. Like, we don't sell anything. Like we do, but for service, we don't upsell that you have to buy services. And frankly, we cannot serve anyone too. So please call me, email me. Happy to reach out and help you out as much as possible.
Awesome. We're hopefully no one here has to do that, but if we need it, it's really like it gives us a lot of peace of mind to know that that's available. There are some questions here from some people that cover mostly security questions. So somebody says, well, actually, let's start with There's a question from Calvin. Calvin, I think, is here. He says, what do you think of non-custodial technology like Fortimatic, where users can use their email and password credentials to unlock their private keys stored in cloud HSM? Is it actually providing security, or does it defeat the security?
So if you have an email address and someone can do a password reset, then certainly it's wrong. So the problem with the security is always that, so let me try to, is my voice still bad?
It's a little echoey.
Okay, let me change. Is it better now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the problem with all of this, the technology that is specifically mentioned, I don't know how that works, but ultimately, whenever you are depending on a third-party service, you're giving them all the control of being compromised. That's the problem. So in this case, there's two third parties. One is your email, and the second is a service that can reset the password. So there are two issues. But what I've seen is, and I've seen a lot of people who have lost their, like in Bitcoin ATM, people used to come up and they say, hey, I lost the paper of, so we used to generate a Bitcoin wallet on the spot, and they used to lose the paper. And they will come to us, hey, can I get a replacement? We say, no, that's not how Bitcoin works, right? They say, hey, can you crack it? No. Or someone will just keep it in their pocket and, because of the ink fades away. So there will always security. Frankly, I get panicked too by this MetaMask, because ultimately, I believe someone can just, I know the chances are less, but what if someone generates the exact private key, right? I know the chances are 1 in a billion or something, but still there is a chance. Or someone just randomly discovered my private key. So I personally believe that as of today, we have so good exchanges like Coinbase and Kraken and Binance that we can frankly trust them by holding ourselves. So it's a different, unless you're comfortable yourself.
When it comes to your clients, do you see many of them are previous victims who are now having learned the hard way, trying to bolster their security? Or are these people who are taking action before anything bad happens to bolster their security?
So ultimately, someone needs to have some kind of pain. So I'll give you an example of identity theft. A lot of people you may not heard of anyone who had identity theft, but millions of people get impacted. So they have some kind of connection. It's very hard to sell to someone who has never heard of it, and they still want to do that. Very hard. And 80% of our customers are non-crypto. They never had a crypto, or they have no link to crypto, but they are securing because of other reasons, like SimSwap in general is the issue. You can get into someone Instagram, you can get someone call log, you can get into someone Uber. So we have different, like lawyers, we have those clients too. So yeah, so in our case, like I would say like 60% of them are not a victim, but 40% are victim.
Somebody asked a question regarding their SIM card, saying, what are some of the best SIM security tools? It's a relatively general question. And then says Malwarebytes and Avast on Android.
So I don't use Androids, but I'm actually very impressed by Apple. I don't like them as a company because I'm kind of anti-status quo. But Apple have done a really good job in keeping their software secure. The problem with the Android is because of Play Store, there are a lot of apps that can be uploaded without any permission. So all this antivirus software, I don't trust either of them. But that's personally me. Put up a good firewall and monitor every traffic that leaves your phone or leaves your computer. And that's the best way to do it. Because you have to monitor every outgoing traffic. And the problem with Android is we have seen, I think Jack's wallet and other major wallets, they will just make a copy of it and do a better SEO, and people will be able to, get top ranking on Play Store. That's the issue.
Since somebody asks as a follow-up, does it help to just lock your SIM card to prevent transfer? Is that effective?
It's not effective, frankly. If you're asking me in general, it's not effective. Now, does it make it harder? Certainly it makes it harder, but the problem the telecom industry works is it's slightly simple. It's different. So there are a SIM card or telephone number can be compromised. And the problem is that, so I will simply give you an example. If you go to T-Mobile, and you go to T-Mobile will have 5 different kind of employees who have different access. And you just have to convince one of the persons with the right access to do it. And you can override whatever security you have. So literally your future depends on one of the, I think 100,000, I don't know how many employees they have, like 100,000 employees being compromised. So it's just a matter of time. Now, I'm not saying that sometimes the cases get blocked, but in my case, the hacker attempt called them like 11 times. And I think on the 12th attempt, he got away with it. And the guy who was like on 12th even, he was even fooled, like he's able to see the logs that someone have already called 11 times, but he still said, oh, okay, I didn't. Because the way they do it, the way it works is that they have a series of questions that they have to follow. And as long as the questions are responded, you are good to go. So I'll give you an example, like I may call Gibran and Gibran may call me back because like, I missed a call. And they may say, hey, what was the last number you dialed? And it's my number, so I know which number it is, right? And so they, okay, one question mark is checked, right? The second question mark is, which phone do you have? Oh, I have an iPhone. I lost my phone. I don't know. Now, there's a 50-50% chance you may have an Android or iPhone. That's second thing. You may say, what's your date of birth? So that's pretty easy to find on internet and all of those things.
Someone asks by the name C. Rindy. They say that your security company is really appreciated, but for the general public who may not even know like how this works, she asks, what can we do to get telecom companies to better protect consumers from SIM hacking, and what changes do they need to make? Is there something that they can do?
So they can do. The issue with that is, if you look at the regulations, actually SIM porting need to be active. Like what if your carrier is bad? Like what if you're on T-Mobile and you find a better plan on AT&T and you want to go to AT&T? So by law, you are the owner of your telecom company. And the moment you want to leave, the telecom companies do not want to stop you. So the problem is, right now, you only need two pieces of information for a SIM port. One is your account number, which is on top of your bill. And the second is your telephone number. That's the basic information required for a SIM port transfer. Now, account number, you can literally call T-Mobile or any major company and say, hey, I want to pay my bill. I forgot my telephone, I forgot my account number. They'll give it to you. So it's that easy. Or you can walk up to a store and say, hey, man, I want to update my number, get a new phone, a new plan. Can you just look into my account? And he'll give you an account number. It may not happen on first attempt, but it may happen second or third attempt. So the problem, FCC have mandated it that someone need to transfer the phone. The company need to respond within 4 hours. So if a company does not respond, like imagine you move from one carrier to another carrier, they need to respond. If they don't respond in 4 hours, they get fined a lot. Talking about a lot of money. And the problem is, it's not possible for them humanly to verify all the requests. So as soon as there's a request, they just pass it on. Now, SIM hacking is not an issue that is impacting everyone. It's impacting maybe like, I would say like maybe 100 people per day. And there are, I think, like 200 to 300 million subscribers in America. So it's not a major issue for them. And I don't think so. It's like you say that every car needs to be bulletproof because someone got shot in a car. Because when people are desperate, like people found a new plan, like think about it, you end up at like a Black Friday and you found a new cell phone deal. And your current carrier says, hey, I'm not going to transfer you. And, like the company can get into a lot of trouble for blocking your number. And a lot of these call centers have outsourced their call center, and the guy who's actually receiving your call, and if they don't allow the port in, you ask for information, they may get bad rating. So they just do it because they don't want to get bad rating. So for you, it may be a bigger issue. For them, it's not a bigger issue. So regulation is required, but regulation has been put in the first place because number portability wasn't allowed before. It just got allowed because people want to transfer their number, and that's why we don't have contracts in the US.
Do you think there is a potential innovation that telecom companies, or I guess it would be a collaboration between other entities as well, will do to improve how phone numbers work? Joe Baker asks a question here. It says, how can we require exchange? So he's talking about exchanges. He's saying, how can we require exchanges to use PGP keys instead of SIM cards or telephone numbers?
The problem is, Joe, and all the people in the room, like it's not easy thing to do. As we are among the maybe like 0.1% people in the world who understand how this technology works. Like frankly, if you ask someone to put a SIM card, you'd be surprised at how many people don't even know how to put a SIM card in the phone. Like I'm not like kidding. Like serious people do not know that how to put a SIM card in the phone. So PGP is next level. I'll give you an example. Like on Efani, I think only 2 or 3 people pay by Bitcoins. Only 2 or 3 people, and we spend like maybe 2 to 3 months setting up a billing system for Bitcoin. So for general public, it's not easy. Like using MetaMask is complicated for a lot of people. Like a lot of people don't understand how gas works, like how PGP works, how you need to secure multiple things. So I think there's stats like 47% of people are on Windows XP or Windows 7 or something like that. So general public is still not educated, and frankly, the regulation consumer controls that disallow them. So unless a major hack happens, like think about like what could happen with Twitter, the major compromise, and the kids, I can guarantee the kid will get away within 1 year, because this is how the regulations work, and this is how the justice system works.
There's a couple questions that are coming in the actual chat here. But before we get to there was another question about Bitcoin ATMs.
Yeah.
David Palmer asks, what do you think about KYC requirements being forced on Bitcoin ATM operators? Do you think Bitcoin ATM networks are still a viable business in 2020?
100%, man. This is the best business in crypto space, frankly. I'm very bullish on crypto exchange. Bitcoin ATM, I can pretty much do an entire webinar on how it's profitable and how it's the next big thing in crypto. People don't realize that how profitable it will be to run a Bitcoin ATM if you do it properly. Frankly, I think at one point in time we were charging around like 40% fees. I know these were early days, but like 40% fees. So which means that you make 40% on buying, 40% on selling. So technically you're making 80% on a transaction. So tell me, is there any business where you make so much money on such a transaction? Now KYC requirements are a regulation. Obviously you can't deny them, but a lot of transactions are below $1,000 because it's very painful to do bigger transaction on Bitcoin ATMs. So under $1,000, you don't need, like, you just need a telephone number, which could be a burner number, frankly. And I'm not encouraging it, but like it's pretty lenient requirement. So the laws of KYC require that under $1,000, you need to have just like a basic requirement, which we turned out to a telephone number. Between $1,000 to $3,000, you need to have some kind of identifiable information, which distinguishes you, like your full name, your legal name, your address, or something. After $3,000 to $10,000, you need to have like a proof of like a government issued ID. And I think Joe from BitAML is like very smart in this, so he'll be able to guide it better. And after $10,000, you have to report it to like FinCEN that this transaction happened. You have to file SARS. So it's not like, ideally Bitcoin ATM should have no KYC requirements. That's what ATM operators want, but they don't want to end up in jail. So yeah, so there will be KYC requirements, and frankly, everyone thinks that Bitcoin ATM machines are money laundering machines. It has a very bad taboo in the industry. It's actually looked down by pretty much people in the industry, and whenever someone think of it, it's very bad. And I am, like one day, once we are off the record, I'll tell you like what happened on these ATMs too.
Yeah, I want to hear all those Bitcoin ATM stories. That's something we need to hear about on its own.
That we will keep it on for some other day, right? But like, frankly, Bitcoin ATMs are fascinating business, man. I'm actually surprised why people haven't explored this industry. Because think about it, you have 2 ATMs across the world. One is in Australia, one is in Canada, or third one is in the US. You can pretty much transfer money from one ATM to another ATM, USDC, and being cashed out in Australia without any license. You pretty much do not need a license for that. And that's a loophole that is not being exploited right now. Because if you look at Western Union cost, people think money transfer is expensive, like Western Union charge a lot of money because there's a lot of cost. And the 2 biggest costs are compliance and the agent cost. 80% of this cost. So if you take out 80% of the cost, these are compliance and again, the physical location cost. By Bitcoin ATM, you can reduce both of them. You can build like infrastructure as a hardware, because everyone who's building a Bitcoin crypto business is focused on bank. But if you want to build a completely new rail, it has to be independent of the current rail. But again, not to derail the discussion, but like Bitcoin ATM is such a fascinating industry.
I'm hoping that maybe we can have you back another time to talk about Bitcoin ATMs. But there are a couple questions now going back to SIM hacking and preventing SIM hacking. I'll combine actually 2 of these questions. David asks, what are your thoughts regarding Google Authenticator or Authy versus text confirmations? And Calvin asks, what's your opinion on web authenticator or web authentication, which is really interesting as well.
Sure. So I'll come to like app-based, right? So I prefer app, but I use a hardware wallet, like a hardware key. I use the one by Google, but you can use like YubiKey, but I use a kind of non-branded because I believe that all the big brands can be exploited pretty easily. So I use that. About the problem with the SMS verification, it's convenient, but at the same time, there's also attack which can happen without even having SIM swap. So someone can actually install an antenna and do a man-in-the-middle attack. It's called SS7 attack. You guys can Google for it, and someone can sniff your messages and calls. So the way it works is like a Wi-Fi extender. Similar to Wi-Fi extender, you can build your own like an antenna, and it can be like string array or it can be like a device. What it does is it acts like, to the cell tower, it looks like it's a phone, and for the phone it looks like a tower, but basically something in the middle. And what it does is it can filter out the communication. So I can be sitting in the same room with you and can filter out a couple of messages. So anytime you receive a text message, you will not get it on your phone, and I'm getting a text message. So SMS is pretty much the worst way of verification, but very convenient, and that's why it's being used a lot. So never ever use SMS, even if you're in Efani, frankly. Like, I don't recommend it because the level of attack, but it's very convenient. Everyone wants to use it. So that's why, it's still popular. And if you have like a Google Voice or something, a lot of times the apps do not respond to that because they do not accept those numbers. So short story, always use like hardware keys or Authy if you can't afford a device. So that's one thing which I recommend. Other than that, and second, what web authentication?
Yep, it's WebAuth and .io.
I don't know about that, frankly, to be expert on it, but I believe that a lot of this information is being compromised. I'm frankly very, very comfortable with using Google, even though I hate their privacy policy. But if you use their key and everything, I'm very comfortable with that. And I have my own ways to authenticate and secure myself, like being in crypto ATM stuff. Knock in 8 years, I've never been hacked. The only way it was done was due to the SIM swap, which was turned on, and that's why I built Efani, and now using good practices. And one thing I've learned is even looking at Google Wi-Fi router. One thing I want to recommend it to a lot of people is so there's setting on your Wi-Fi router that you can hide your router name. It's pretty simple. So you can just hide your Wi-Fi router, because a lot of people will be just passing on the street and they will just finding open connections and just try to integrate. So that way your router will not be even visible to anyone who doesn't have a name. And you have to, in order to connect, you need to put a telephone number and have a different router name for your device, because there's a website where you can go in and it will tell you all the logins of random routers. Basically, it's a website to connect to public Wi-Fi, but it also has people's personal home Wi-Fi passwords too, because you may connect it to someone. So it's like a crowdsource. So you may connect to download an app. In order to access the app, you need to share all the Wi-Fi passwords that you have. And this way, your password may be shared by someone else. And if someone is just passing by your house, especially in an apartment building, they can just see all your passwords. And once they log into your account, they can pretty much do a lot of stuff on your Wi-Fi. So that's one thing. Other than that, so someone mentioned about counter-hardening text document. These are attacks, but it all depends on what's your risk. General criminals are not sophisticated. They are not like PhDs or quantum physics. They basically are just criminals. They know they have too much time on their hand and they just want to call 20 people. That's what they do. And frankly, the payout is so high that it's worth trying. If someone is able to make 10 calls or 20 calls per day and is able to even hack one person per year and make $100,000, he will take the chance. So this is why it happens. But I can go into so much technical details of how to exploit someone's telephone number, because I do this for a living now. But for ordinary person, the things I mentioned are pretty simple. Right now, I think we have a lot of basketball players, athletes, people you see on TV that we protect, and we go with a very high protection level because they have different levels of security. But for ordinary customers, frankly, they don't even use they don't need our services because we are super expensive than the regular journal. So just follow those and you should be fine. But other than that, man, I can scare the shit out of you that you would not be able to sleep on how much information is available. But I think for the general public, they don't need to worry that much. Just take it easy and just follow those basic practices.
If people want to get more information from you, and specifically, there was actually one question specifically about Efani, which we'll get to. But if people want to, or from my perspective, you're one of the very, very few people I've seen who openly talk about all these different components regarding telecom, like in context with telecom. Is there, aside from your Twitter or just like reach out to you directly, which some people might not want to reach out to you directly just for some basic questions, is there a resource that you recommend to kind of keep up to date and continue to learn more?
So I think I'm very incompetent when it comes to marketing. I haven't done a good job in marketing, but we have a lot of like peer reviews by security experts who have tried to hack into our system and they were able to get certification. I should tweet. So Twitter is a good thing because I tweet out those research papers if someone has done researches on that. But I think I should do a better job at it. So if someone has a better suggestion on how we should market, frankly, it'd be good. Like frankly, we don't know how to present our message. So, but we have done, and anyone who's interested in like exploiting our system or like, playing around with it, like hacking, I'm happy to like, put a Bitcoin or 2 Bitcoins on a phone number and you guys can see if you are able to hack it.
I like that. putting money on the line.
Because frankly, like I think it's education lesson for me too. And I keep on improving myself. Like nothing in the world is hack proof. And we don't claim to, but we have insurance policy to cover it. Like luckily like nothing has happened so far, but I want to learn from smart people in the room. So please, if you know anything, come and help me out. Because my goal is to like basically get up in the morning and see what is the best way to protect everyone and keep on improving every day.
Yeah. What is specifically
I want to
the company itself? Someone was asking what the 11 layers of protection were, and I think first of all, it's awesome that there are so many layers of protection. Can you kind of break down exactly why there are so many layers of protection and how that's different from the standard?
So, give you an example, like when we do agreement, our agreement says that your telephone number is kind of safe, like you are not able to port. And the basic thing that we do majority of the time is that we do not automatically approve it. So because we don't have a lot of customers, like it's not like we have like millions of customers. We actually maybe have like maybe a few hundred customers now. I think we get close to maybe 500 now. So we are able to verify and put them through a rigorous check. So someone does SIM swap attempt, we just block them request immediately, and then we ask for verification. So we verify customers through 11 different methodologies. It could be like we send you a text message and we verify, okay, that's right. Number two, call get recorded. Okay, this is it. Then we do like a credit card. Okay, what's the credit card? Where application you are? Which phone are you using? What's your credit card number? Like, we go through different regular things. Which operating system are you using? Like if you made an account using like a MacBook in Florida and you are requesting for a SIM swap while sitting in New York, we will say, okay, this will trigger. Then we send you physical mail to your house that you have to physically sign with a code and then send it back. Then we also go through like a notary process. So you have to go and notarize yourself. And after that, we are able to verify. And then we set up like a 7-day cool off period because we may believe that, hey, what if you're kidnapped or something? So we go through that and then we release the number. And because issue with us is like, we have a massive liability of like, if you don't follow the procedure. So we have built a process that we have to verify customers with 11 layers. And we made one customer very angry in this process too, but we said, hey, it's not like, it's not going to happen this way. So other than that, there's some trade secrets too. But long story short is that everything is done manually, and whenever someone tries to SIM swap, we believe that this is a fraud attempt. And we are okay with people getting pissed off in the process.
There are a few questions that I think people wanted to ask in person or over voice. I think David and also AK. We can go with David first. David.
Sorry?
Yeah. Hey. So I was just going to comment. One of the biggest things is social hacking. The biggest thing that I see often, because I was just telling everybody yesterday, we had somebody impersonating another person in our group, and they were actually impersonating Brian, and they were trying to convince me that the person was Brian, and trying to get Bitcoin off of me, saying, hey, can you sell me some Bitcoin? Can you send it to me, and whatnot. And I'm familiar with this. I've seen it not happen enough where people try to befriend you. They try to think there's somebody else and basically try to exploit you. And I think especially if you're in crypto, it's kind of a common thing that I'm sure most of us will probably run into it at some time. So just as long as everybody else in the group knows, if you're on Discord, there is a person that was doing that, I'd since block them. But who knows, But these are the things you see out there.
Certainly, like I said, like never ever send bitcoins to anyone. Frankly, I believe this is a kind of a medal of honor. No one impersonated me any, so I think I haven't made it yet. So I don't have the medal of someone impersonating me, and I feel it's an insult for me, you know. So I feel very bad about it, you know, like no one has done that. But the good part is that my accounts are verified, so people can check. But yeah, I saw the Brian too, and I said, hey, what's up? And I got a message that, hey, are you awake? And I thought because of meetup today, so you maybe want to talk something. And I said, why don't you just email it to me? Other way is we also have a technology of call proof detection. So someone can, if someone calls us and it's spoofing the number, we detect it immediately. But as I said, we have done a lot of things, but we haven't done a good job in marketing about like how the process works. But part of it, like we grew too quickly, frankly. But as I said, so far, man, we have a number which is like I think it costs down $50,000. So if someone steals that number alone is very expensive because these are very expensive numbers. Like some numbers, like I'll give you an example, like 415 accident is a very expensive number. 212 are more expensive numbers. Here people have vanity numbers, which is far bigger problem than this crypto issue.
AK, I think you had a question for Haseeb as well, if you'd like to ask that over voice. Maybe not. Okay. If anybody wants to ask a question over voice and skip the text, you're welcome to just raise like an emoji or a hand, and we'll do that. We don't want to take too much of Haseeb's time because he's out here protecting everybody from some hacking and more. But Haseeb, if you have time for a couple more questions.
Yeah, happy to listen to questions. And frankly, I said like you guys are much smarter than I am. So I am always like, trying to learn everything. What I do, I spend half of my time on like, dark web and trying to see how people are hacking each other. And then I try to implement things. Okay, what can happen? And feel free to like, challenge me on, hey, what if this happens? Because I may not have thought of it. And please share your stories. Like, I really want to hear your stories about, what happened to you because it just helped me improve it. I didn't started to make money, frankly. Obviously, we make money, but goal was to protect myself because I went through a lot of pain and it had a lot of stress on me. So please, challenge me or anything and do everything. But yes, right, like social engineering and physical direct access are very underrated. Like, it happens so often. Man, you'd be surprised at how your record is being kept by people. And frankly, there's no repercussion for like any company who do that. Like, there are a lot of companies which will not even not two-factor even today. Like, there should be criminal offense to not have any two-factor.
Do you think, is there some changes across the industry that, do you think that's possible? Is it possible for, I mean, one, we're glad that you're in business, but is it possible that over time these companies evolve and the services evolve?
I think it's like a similar question, like would Bank of US will accept Bitcoins, right? I think that's a debate that we have for the longest time. Like, will Amazon accept Bitcoins? And I personally believe not, but there's a product called Zenki, where T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon have invested $200 million. So that product is supposed to replace it. And there's a simple solution in UK that exists in Europe. And what it does is whenever a transaction happens, in US, we don't get a record of when the number was ported. So imagine, Gibran, your number was ported like 2 hours ago. The bank would not know. But in UK, this information is public. You can, like, bank can know. So whenever they're sending information, they will know that what was the last time there was a change in the account. When was the last time the account was, SIMs was swapped? Or when was the last time the number was ported? Or when was the last time the phone? So any changes to the account, that they will get that information. In US, that information is very limited. So I think, what they are doing is they're pretty much investing, and there's also like a kind of a debate in the industry that they're trying to collude this industry by making it an issue that, hey, okay, this issue actually exists, and then asking them to pass a bill where their solution called Zenki will become industry standard, and everyone has to use it. So there is a kind of a theory around that too. They're making it work for themselves to sell their own solution. Because telephone number is technically identity, like it's more important than social security number.
Yep. And just, I mean, I have some experience recently with how healthcare works in the US. It is striking how much of all account access across the board for all kinds of healthcare companies are relying on a telephone number for access across the board. So
yeah, like think about it, like a person who just got hired at a McDonald's can actually walk into a store of AT&T next door and say, I want to work. And without a background check, he'll be allowed to work in that store and access any other person information on that account, even up to call logs. Like how absurd it is. And I'll give you an example. My theory is that all the major exchanges are involved in this. So there's someone in the company, Coinbase, or like not Coinbase, but I'm just giving an example in major companies who actually tip these people off that this person has this much money and his account is protected by SMS, and that's how they get inside.
Actually, that's changed. I just have to correct you. So AT&T, Verizon, especially T-Mobile, all the T-Mobile companies, Sprint, Metro PCS, they can't even access that data anymore. I've tested it because we had to mitigate some actual blank text message attacks where people attack the actual local, the actual cell phone tower attacks where you do diagnostic text. So they've literally locked them out of that, even if you have diagnostics. Now the problem with SMS, you're right about people receiving SMS, people take an account out and then send you the text message. But that most of the attacks actually are coming when people attack the tower itself and send a diagnostic or put a fake tower up and spoof the phone. Because it's now structured, their top level is you have to have the phone number, you have to have email, and you have to have social security ID to access it with Metro PCS owned by T-Mobile. And T-Mobile's a standard because they bought Sprint, and they're going to kill everybody else. Like AT&T follows up because their insurance loss rates at T-Mobile are lower with that type of process. So we mitigated a situation with a high net worth investor where somebody took his phone over, was pulling the messages, took the account, switched it to a different hardware. Kind of like the attack that, what's that guy, the Bitcoin guy got?
Michael Turpin.
So, I mean, it's something we've mitigated a while. The thing with fake towers and people can use like the OpenSIP stuff to set up a fake tower and be a roaming peer is where really the weakness still is in the market. But like structurally, just like now, most of the ransomware attacks, people use this piece of shit tool called email. And it's the attacks for the hospitals are like impossible to mitigate with use email. There's actually a quantum secure email and chat service some Russian guys who are here built. I want to ask you offline. I'd love to get your contacts. I'm in the Bay Area. I'm a 500 guy, and ex-Cisco Regional Labs guy, help with the DARPA hack the drone stuff. I'd love to talk with you offline about that.
Yeah.
And also, as an alumni from City College San Francisco, one thing I dropped out like Berkeley to go work at Apple. So
yeah, we met at one of the meetups I met you at a meetup in a security meetup in San Francisco.
Yeah, was it the Cisco one we have both with their guys there?
Cisco one, yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, so I had to go to New York and actually fix the actual.
Yeah. Anyway, so just for wider audience, I want to keep it very simple. Like there's, I agree with you, but you can also have SNR. SNR is what happened in this device. Like the current technologies are like around 5G and 4G. It's very difficult to hack it. So what the companies do is they will install like a meter, like a signal jammer, and what it does is it reduces your voice quality from 4G to 3G. At 3G, you become very vulnerable, and that's where the hacking happens. So again, I think this is very technical stuff. Like I can show it to you. Like you can pretty much, because I deal with these cases every day, and frankly, I can tell you which holes every major telecom carrier have. But unfortunately, because of the regulation and compliance, I don't want to disclose them. But I don't believe that you cannot buy anyone, employee in any company. You can go on dark web right now and buy anyone call log.
Next question. Joe had his little hand up there as well. We'll do that as one of the last questions. Joe, floor is yours.
Thank you. You mentioned that you had your social media accounts verified. That'd be nice to hear about. And also, just as a side thought, if you have personal connections with other people, it's useful to watch this, for imposters on social media. Like I have a friend that I've seen on Facebook, like 3 or 4 people attempts where they try to, set up fake accounts. Yeah. And at least on Facebook, it's pretty easy to report them. And man, I've stopped them in their tracks about 3 or 4 times. And it was surprising how easy it was there. Twitter, it's a lot harder.
Correct.
How do you verify? How do you get that star where you're verified?
I guess you need to know people and you need to be famous. And that's the easiest answer I could say. But I got verified, I think 6-7 years ago. So at that time, it was easy. You could submit your own request. And I was featured on New York Times, Netflix, and I had a lot of things. So that's how I got verified. And the other part was that we are building a software which should be launched by next month. Happy to give it access to anyone. And what it does is you can add your own username and will tell you if there's an imposter with your name on the social media. So we will be launching it hopefully within a month or 2 for public, where anyone can see anyone's account. So you can literally add up all username and tell you how many accounts this by your name. And every time an account pops up, you will get a notification. Boom.
there's another one I've used called keybase.io,
Okay.
and that's kind of interesting because it sets up a key pair for you, and even creates a PGP key for you if you like.
Yeah.
And then you can verify. They got about 5 or 7 different social media accounts. Like I've verified my Facebook through there, and Twitter, and a few other things, and websites. You can verify a domain through Keybase.
But Joe, you're right. Like you can do a lot of things, but frankly, for average consumer, that's not a thing, and that's who fall victim to. Like a lot of senior homes get victim to this thing too. Like you will be someone will just call like a senior home and say, hey, connect me with John, and I'm sure there will be a John there, right? And they will call them and say, okay, you know, I'm just a friend. I'm just calling you, just check in with you. And people are lonely and they will get victim of it. And even if you tell your dad or like someone who lives in Portland, do not give your information to anyone. There are people who will still give it out. So whatever you said is absolutely correct. But issue is that it's like a muscle memory. Because I work in security, I have a muscle memory to do things. But for every consumer, it's very difficult to do stuff and protect. And that's the problem with security and privacy. You have to do things that you don't like or you're not used to. And that's where the things are. And the worst part is when you believe that you're secure, but you're not secure. Again, I can tell you stories where people walk into, well, I'll give you a simple example. If you're on family plan, I've seen where before divorce or after divorce, people were able to swap their spouse's phones. You know, I had a case where a person walked into Uber driver and like a big van, and they SIM swapped their phone, right? So they basically SIM swap. No, they didn't. So they they sat in the Uber, right? And they had their own device, so they were able to get the text, install Uber app on their phone, I think, and they basically took over their account by sitting in the car and transfer the money to their own account, because you can change a bank account. It happened in Uber. We have seen people who were able to get into Lyft account and were able to like find out about their spouses who were cheating on them, because Lyft have all the information of the previous records, so someone was able to find out. Man, I have like so many stories that frankly, you know, you'll be surprised at how people hack each other. People will take. I also have one other attack where people were actually physically able to take out the physical SIM card, put it in a different phone, and you know, like the person didn't even know that his phone is compromised because the cell phone was forwarding to their current number. So they just replaced the SIM card. So people are still able to receive phone calls, right? And iMessage was going through. So he didn't even know that he's actually compromised till like after 2 days. Because people at home and they're using Wi-Fi working, they're getting calls, they're getting text messages, they're able to do till they figure out why I'm unable to make why my number is being shown as unknown. So 105 people can get compromised. But as I said, ultimately, you know, it's just the weakest link that gets. And the problem is that people believe they're secure and they're not secure. That's it. At least you know you're vulnerable. But if you, as I said, if you follow the specific thing, man, you'll be much better than a lot of people.
I think this was super helpful and super valuable. I mean, selfishly for me, but I think for the rest of us in the meetup as well. I'm going to add Haseeb's Twitter again below. And collectively, I think we're going to figure out how to get some of those awesome stories out of you. We'll come up with a way to help publish or promote some of that stuff and market some more stuff about Efani so that we can boost on that.
Yeah, sure, man. Happy to protect. Like my mission is frankly like to learn and build it. And I use my own product. I'm my customer number one. So I basically want to learn because I'm a telecom engineer, and cybersecurity is kind of my passion because like the Bitcoin ATM, and I was under attack all the time. And even today, I get a lot of attacks. So not long as we are safe so far. But you know, there's always a time where something can be compromised. So I feel myself very confident, but still, everyone have vulnerabilities.
Yep. Everybody go follow Haseeb in Twitter and then send him like a tweet or at him when you have an idea about how we can help promote this information, and then two, if you have an issue that comes up with security or especially your telecom provider.
Correct. Even like regular, like I said, you guys saw the harvest, like I'm pretty good in DeFi, so I understand what can get compromised. Like, first of all, man, never ever send money to random contracts. Please, for the love of God, don't do that.
Yeah. Haseeb, thank you so much. Everybody's mostly muted, but a virtual round of applause for you.
Okay, thank you. And sorry for this technical detail, but I had all figured out, but in the end, it failed.
It worked out. It worked out. And we want to have you back again in the future, maybe to share some more of those stories, specifically about the ATMs.
Yeah, man, I think ATM is one industry that people do not look attention to, and I don't know why. But I think if we are able to follow that path, because right now everything is depending on bank. Imagine if tomorrow all banks decided, which they would not, but they say, hey, we don't want to deal with anything. All the businesses are shut down, and we need to go beyond the Ponzi part of Bitcoin. And I know I will be crucified for saying that, but frankly, that's what it is. Like,
yep, there will be, I'm sure, a lot of people, a lot of controversial discussions that are ignited because of that statement, but that's awesome.
so that's fine, man. I'm pretty much golden in it, but I think we have, we need to put past it, and we need to come up with a utility where actually people can just use it the way it is, transfer of value, not a transfer of the storage of value.
Last question, actually, just from me, and then I'll actually pass off to Brian for some closing statements. Do you think working in this industry ages you faster than maybe you should be aging? Because I have found that everything is moving so quickly, and the more you learn, the more dangerous things appear, that it becomes pretty intimidating.
Well, see, I'm 17. I don't look 17, right? No, that's not the case. So yeah, man, I think it's about stress, right? Frankly, I'm fascinated by space. I don't get stressed out anymore. Frankly, I've lost like so much time, so many times that it doesn't bother me anymore. So I'm not afraid of losing. And I think we're blessed that we still know about this space. I don't know, after 10 years, where we will be in this space, but yes, certainly it's a scary space. But same was so super exciting. But ultimately, we signed up for this. Like right now, Monday, everyone is sitting online and talking about an industry where so it's all about passion. Like we signed, like no one is forcing us. But yes, it's a very scary world out there. And frankly, I just say that if people should learn about how finance will change the world. Like we had, VoIP that changed the voice communication. We had like TCP/IP, SMTP, and now we have like money over IP. And if someone can figure, like first time programmable money, the concept of programmable money is super exciting. And that all comes down to DeFi stuff, but we keep it too. We still at $10 billion lot. When I think I got into Bitcoin, it was like 1 billion in total crypto market, now like 304 million. And just grow with the space, like just ride the wave. And you just need to learn. For the first time, you can create money by just programming. While in the past, I'm an engineer, and we were ruled by people who were an MBA degree. But now we can code ourselves, like build the financial system. Like think about it. You will set up a DeFi structure, and within like one day, you'll have $500 and $500 million in like locked value. If it was a regular startup, it will take you like maybe like $1 billion, like I don't know, gazillion of like money in Facebook ads to onboard that many customer. And here you will have a random contract making like $3 million within 1 hour. So I think this is fascinating. So it just scared me, like MetaMask and all those hardware keys. What if the treasure failed? What if it goes into water? What if someone physically comes and put a gun on your head? This is just scare, but ultimately that's what we signed up for.
Yeah. It's exciting and it's new, and that just comes with the space. But
that is what we signed up for. All right, Haseeb. Well, thank you very much. And I know you could go on all night, but it seems like you and AK and Joe need a little bit more advanced conversation that can go on later. But what we try to do in our Bitcoin meetup is give everybody like a voice. So what we try to say right now, if you want to address the group here for 1 minute, speak now or forever hold your peace. So anybody that wants to say anything to the group, go right ahead.